Thank you for coming to view my macular degenerative disease. My name is Michelle Barron, and I hope you guys can take a little bit something away from it. What is macular degenerative disease? This is also known as aged macular degenerative disease. You can find the abbreviations for it as AMDD or AMD as well. It's an eye disease that causes vision loss, and it's due to the deterioration of the central portion of the retina. It's the leading cause of vision loss amongst Americans, with currently an estimated 10 million suffering from it in today's day. This disease develops in about 3 stages, and it comes in 2 forms, known as wet or dry. Where does macular degenerative disease occur? It occurs in the macula lutea of the eye. You can also find the fovea centralis in the center of the macula lutea. In order to see this, you need special lens or special microscope to be able to view it because it is naked to just the regular eye. As and in the picture, it's that little brown spot in the middle of the whole um, red circle, which is the eye. So the stages of macular degenerative disease, for the most part, it usually comes in about 3 stages. It is the early AMD, which is when you don't have any vision loss yet, an intermediate AMD, which is when there may be some vision loss, but it can still either be detected or undetected. And then late AMD, which is when vision loss becomes apparent. Sometimes the way that the stages are broken up, as on the chart, in the picture, it says early dry, intermediate dry, advanced dry, and then wet. Dry and wet are the 2 forms that it takes, so it's just breaking it down a little bit more. So the types of aged macular degeneration, it's wet or dry. So in the picture on the left side, you can see the dry degeneration, macular degeneration, and on the right side, you can see the wet macular degeneration. You can see that there's a little bit of a difference. So dry degeneration. So it's the most common. It can account for 85 to 90% of all AMDD cases. It's called dry age-related macular degeneration because it doesn't contain leakage of any blood or serum, but instead it develops small yellow deposits known as drusen. This leads to thinning along with drying out of the macula, which then renders the macula less effective than if it were not to have the drusen present. So the more drusen present, the less effective the macula is. In the photo, you could see the difference between the red and the yellow coloring. The yellow coloring is the drusen that you would find. People with this dry form can have a good central line of vision, but their vision is impacted in other aspects. So they have limited vision at night, limited vision under reduced illumination or light, and fluctuating vision in general. Again, in the picture, you can see that there's even more drusen in the center of the eye. So you can assume that this is a very late form or late intermediate form of macular degeneration. Wet degeneration happens in about 10 to 15% of the macular degenerative sufferers. This is a less common type. This form can happen faster and be more aggressive than the dry version of it. And this happens when there's abnormal blood vessels beginning to form underneath the macula and the retina. So the blood vessels found in wet AMD are called choroidal neovascularization, or CNV for short. The CNV begin to leak or drain, which causes the macula to bulge up from its usual flat position. And this leads to either distortion or destruction of the central vision. People with this tend to see dark spots or spots in general in their central line of vision. A straight line can look distorted or wavy due to the macula no longer lying flat. And so in the picture, you can see the abnormal blood vessels with the arrows, and you can see where the macula is. And it's not as yellow as the dry degeneration looks. This is more of a milky-ish color. So with wet degeneration, there are two types of the CNV. There's classic, which average vision loss with average vision loss between 2250 and 2400. It's the more aggressive CNV. And then there's also occult, which is the average with average vision loss between 2080 and 2200. In the chart, it also just shows you how it goes from an early form of AMD, which is still dry, an intermediate form of AMD, which is still dry, to, in this case, an advanced form of the AMD, which turned wet. And that's just the progression of how this patient developed it. So when can AMD begin to develop? It usually occurs in adults 55 years or older. When it is found in young patients, it can start to develop a Stargardt disease due to having the necessary recessive genes in order to develop it. So for the risk factors, who's at risk? Being older than 55 plus or 55 plus range, 60 years old, you can have a medical history of it in your family, spending a lot of time in sun, not wearing sunglasses or like hats to keep your vision safe. Smoking is a big cause, as can be attributed to it as well. Um, your diet, your blood pressure, having inactivity, light colored eyes. And how can it be cured or treated? At the moment, there is no cure, as doctors are still trying to research and understand it. You can support a lifestyle, though, that reduces the potential of the disease, which is um, regular eye exams with the optometrist, your diet. You can be sure that you're including healthy eye foods, avoid smoking, definitely exercising, and definitely protecting your eyes from ultraviolet lights in the form of sunglasses, hats, being in shady areas can help as well. And then this brings us to the end of the presentation. These are just the credits. I appreciate you taking a look and I hope you learned something. Have a great day.